All right, have and have not fans. Now, I remember a couple days ago, yeah, it was when I was at home. It was a video I did about Celine Gonzalez, her making her return in season 7 of the Haves and Have Nots. Number 1, due to behind the scenes footage from last fall when they were recording season 7. Number 2, if Jim is theoretically dead, then it would be interesting if Celine showed back up trying to claim what's hers, even though Jim only has like what, $34 or $3,700 to his name. Everything else is Catherine's. Well, some people, and I'm not saying this to poke fun because this actually makes sense. There was a decent number of people who were asking me in the comment section and on Twitter, wait, who is Celine? And I'm like, what? But then I thought about it. It actually makes sense that some people don't know who Celine is, because I remember talking with Chandler yesterday. I think that Celine showed up for the last time at the tail end of season 3 when the chickens come to roost. It was when Jim was giving his speech and Mama Rose, was performing the bloodbath. What, Toxic, Terrell, Professor Cannon, they were all killed. And we saw Celine watching Jim's speech on the television. That was the last time we saw her. Now, for people who came into the show season 4, 5, and 6, it's completely understandable. As far as I remember, the only time Celine was mentioned was at the beginning of season 5 when the beginning of 2018, when Catherine name dropped her to Jim when she was planning to get a divorce from him. But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of Celine's character since she has left the show. But she is slated to come back sometime in season 7. I don't know when exactly within that season. And remember, Jeffrey Owens is supposed to pop up in season 7 as well, but we still don't know like what capacity he's going to pop up. It really depends on how many episodes. Remember, 9 episodes with season 6. Ain't no telling what season 7 is going to be like. But just to give you the basic information, because to be honest, I don't really think Celine needs a full-on character description, but I probably will give all the details. But just to put it bluntly, I forgot what number she was, because that Catherine label, and again, if you are newer to the show and hadn't watched the first season, and I encourage you, if you got into the show from like seasons 4, 5, 6, if you didn't watch the first 3 seasons, I highly, and I'm not saying this because, well, you just do this channel for Tyler Perry, so you're going to promote it. Remember, I am a fan of the show. I am not affiliated with Tyler Perry Studios. I'm just a fan with a YouTube channel. That's all I am. But trust me when I say, when I recommend to go back to something, I really do mean it, because if you've been on this channel long enough, there have been some stinkers within this series. But when the show was first on the air, it was a freaking event. Tuesday nights were to be the Haves and the Have-Nots. When it first came out during those first few seasons, that show was the only reason myself and the majority of people were even happy Mondays were coming. Like, if it was Sunday night, oh, Monday's coming. Oh, but that means the Haves and the Have-Nots is coming. I'm talking back when the show was trending multiple times, where it would be the Haves and the Have-Nots, Veronica, Candace, Hannah, when different characters would be trending. I don't think we've seen a character trend until like a few episodes ago when it was thought Veronica was drowned. Because I remember Veronica was trending that night along with HAHN. So trust me when I say, if you have Hulu, which I do believe the first 5 seasons are on Hulu, go back and watch from the episode The Big Surprise to the episode Checkmate, which I do believe is all labeled season 1, even though back when it was on the air, season 1 was The Big Surprise to No More Hiding. So that's just my opinion. But with that being said, Celine Gonzalez, she was made. I do believe that, Catherine labeled her as number 3 or 4 in regards to what number whore she was when it comes to Jim's cheating. But as far as I can tell, Celine is the only one of Jim's whores that actually had children. Not only that, she has 2. Carlos, the oldest, who's around the same age as Wyatt, and the youngest, little Jimmy. They are Jim's 2 sons with Celine, and he's been paying child support, obviously, since they were born. And I forgot the amount. I don't know if Jim said the exact amount, but I remember back in the day doing like the math and calculations. But Celine should have received millions in child support. But the thing about it is, she was always living in the rundown. She was like portrayed as a have-not, pretty much. You know, the fact she was still a maid, the fact that she was living in the rundown part of the lower income section of Savannah, Georgia. And the reason I think that she's doing that is because she always had in her mind, even Carlos brought it up, Mom, he's not coming back. Because in her mind, Celine was like, oh, Jim is going to leave Catherine and he's going to come back for us. So she even said to Jim that it wasn't about the money. It was about spending time with your children and me. So I'm willing to bet that Celine was probably living off of her salary as a maid. And then all the money in child support, she like stockpiled it somewhere. So that explains a lot why she's living in the state that she's in. And she even told Wyatt that my son Carlos had to work for everything. He wasn't handed everything like you, who squandered it away by doing drugs and whatnot. So he worked his way through college and whatnot. And I think he's like is he a real estate agent? Because I remember the first time we saw him was when he was with Maggie Day, showing her the office space for where Jim and David will be running out of their campaign location. So is the correct term real estate agent, or like an office space manager or whatever? Like he would pretty much show off different locations for people to buy, you know, places to work out of. I think that's like one of the correct titles, but let me know. In any case, Celine's biggest moment was when she got on television with her two sons. Carlos pretty much pushed her into it during Jim's run for governor. Well, the moment that Jim was on television to run for governor, pretty much exposing Jim for having a mistress and children outside of his marriage, ruining his reputation. And he went over to Celine's apartment to have sex with her because she broke their agreement, just to prove how useless and meaningless she is to him. And then she said, we're not even, I'll get you. But then we never seen her since. But if you want to go even further back into her character, the reason she's still a maid is because she always thought Jim was going to leave. And I think Catherine is like, the only reason I allow her to work here is because I just want to let you see, Jim, every day the mistake you made. And then the woman that you left me for at one point, she's getting old and broken down at her age. I mean, that explains why Celine was wearing heels no matter what. She was always wearing heels in her job. And it's like, you know, Hannah will wear flats, but, you know, Celine probably tried to spruce herself up by wearing heels. And if you go back to those earlier seasons, like whenever it's just her and Jim in the house, because Catherine, you know, obviously dealing with her cancer treatments and whatnot, her and Hannah will be out of the house. And it's just Jim dealing with the problem of the episode, usually Candace's, you know, shenanigans. Celine would pop up usually with his favorite, you know, alcoholic beverage and try to, you know, seduce him, but he wasn't having it. And it's just crazy to think, because her and Hannah used to be friends. If memory serves, I think it was said that Hannah and Celine had known each other for like a couple of years due to them working as maids. So they probably, you know, met up that way. I don't know if they worked in the same family, but I know the family that Hannah used to work for, like the patriarch or the female, whoever it was, she passed away. And then Celine set up the interview at the Cryer estate for Hannah, and then that's how they started working together. So, you know, as time went on, their friendliness kind of dissolved when Celine was shown to be overly possessive of Jim, all because Hannah cleaned his shoes and put him back in their place. And then that's when we learned that, oh, there must be something between those two. But the thing about it is, aside from her affair with Jim and children by Jim, it was mentioned that she had a husband named Humberto, but we never saw him. And after being mentioned a couple of times, that was it. I mean, even Jim said to Celine one time when she was trying to seduce him, shouldn't you go back home to your husband? And that was it. So I don't know if he was retconned out, because later on in season 3, where we see where Celine and Carlos live for the first time, there's no indication that there's a father figure in the house. So I'm guessing that similar to the Candace and Benny age swap, because during the early episodes, Candace was younger than Benny, but then they swapped that around. I'm guessing Humberto just never existed. I mean, they probably just wrote him out of continuity. So I think the highlight of Celine's character, in my opinion, it wasn't the cat fight with Hannah, because there are times where after the hit and run incident when Hannah wasn't at the Crier house, and you know Catherine was wondering what was going on because Celine was jealous that Hannah was given a position as like the like supervisor, if you will, of like the maintenance, pretty much like the gardener, the pool boy, the maid. Hannah was going to be at the top position, and Celine, who had been working there for probably like well over a couple decades, was like, she won't even talk to me or whatever. Well, obviously because you screwed her husband, but she pretty much wouldn't take the phone calls. Like anytime Hannah called and said to tell Mrs. Crier what was going on, she wouldn't do it. And I think the highlight was at the end of season 1 when Carlos went over to Jim's house to drop off some documents from the campaign office, and he pretty much confronted Jim. And Celine and Jim in the episode Checkmate had their moment where it was like, look, we're not asking you for money. It's just the fact that your son just wants to get to know you. He remembers when he was just a little boy and you would like hold him up in the air and play with him and everything, but then you never came back. Sorry, garbage truck coming through the parking lot right now. And that really showed, and that was like the first time I felt bad for Celine. But Jim pretty much just spat in her face, not physically, but, you know, pretty much just didn't want to have anything to do with his children or her. So that was pretty much the end of that. Yet she would still come to work, but then that led to the mystery of whether or not she killed Amanda. But that's another subject for another time, and I've done a ton of videos on Amanda. So the question is, you know, who is Celine? One of Jim's whores, his baby mama on the side. And I still think that Tyler Perry probably took inspiration from the Arnold Schwarzenegger scandal where he had a child with his maid. And, you know, that actually makes sense because you look at the timeline for when the episodes aired to when the Arnold Schwarzenegger scandal was on the news. It showed that Tyler Perry would take current news topics and kind of sprinkle them into his project. So Celine coming back, what would she come back for? I don't know. I honestly thought that, you know, she would come back if they ever went into the Amanda death more thoroughly, because I do think that she was most likely the one that did it. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If there's anything you want to add to this video. And if you're new to the channel, I hope this explained who Celine was. I know I kind of gave like an abridged history of who the character is, but to be honest, you know, definitely one of the interesting characters within the early seasons of the Haves and the Have-Nots. If she does come back to the show, what do you want her to do? What would you expect for character? Aside from the whole, if Jim Crier is really dead, she'll probably try to come claim his stuff. But I do think if she comes back, they'll probably delve more into the Amanda mystery. So let me know your thoughts, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you soon. Congratulations on making it to the end of this video. If you like what you just saw, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, or if you have anything you would like to add to the video, make sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to keep up with me on social media, go to the description box. All of my links for social media are right there. Also, if you feel like you would like to donate to the channel, make sure to click on the link to PayPal. Any amount helps. $1, $5, $20. As a full-time YouTuber, any support from my fans really does mean a lot to me. Finally, make sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification icon. That way you're kept up to date on any new content I post to the channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you in the next video.